like that 2 weeks ago. It's really, really hard to pass it. There's really only one passing opportunity. So qualifying, more important than potentially here at St. Petersburg, because there is a couple of great passing opportunities. You get through the final couple of corners here. Turn one is beautiful. Everybody loves turn one. It's wide. If a driver goes wide, you can dive down low. If a driver goes low to try to block, it's a pretty easy over-under because there's so much room on the exit of the corner as well. It's always up and down. Qualifying wise, though, you're going to see everybody here on fresh tires. I don't even think Porto and Shields, who use 2 fresh sets, they're not going to go with just used tires here. They're going to use their last set of fresh tires. Everybody else saving 1 set for either this afternoon or tomorrow.
That is the other point. If you are able to manage to save a fresh set to either use in race number 1 or number 2, that will be dictated by your starting position. It'll be dictated by your result at race number 1 as well. Just trying to decide how to manage those tires throughout the rest of the season. Christian Rasmussen, who is the championship winner already in the USF2000 series, post the first time up in the first quick time of 1:14.2. We expect to see those drop a few seconds over the stretch of this lap, again, depending on the tire situation.
And knowing for sure that Shields and Porto have already used 2 sets and now are going to use their 3rd set, how many people will use 2 sets in this particular session, right? Because, okay, listen, these guys are already quick. I know they're going to be on used rubber for the rest of the weekend. Well, maybe I can do it here. I can get a better starting spot to make sure I'm good for the second race on Sunday. There's a lot of things up in the air. The engineers, the strategists have sat down. They've talked about what they want to do to the cars overnight. What changes do we make? But maybe even more into the front of everything. What's our strategy for the tires here in qualifying? So we're looking exactly like what we looked like yesterday with the 2 D-Force cars up top. This time Kiko Porto with the fast lap early in this session, only about 3.5 minutes in, a 1:13.992 for Kiko Porto, but Christian Rasmussen quickly shaves a second off of that, 1:13.006 now for Rasmussen, as he's a full second ahead. Again, just the first couple of laps going in the books. We don't put any onus at all on the times we're seeing right now.
No, that's exactly what you expect to see, is after the first lap or 2 go up, then the times start to change quickly. And they have to as well, because these are very short qualifying sessions, just 20 minutes in length. So drivers need to get up on it rather quickly in terms of getting their time, trying to post a quick time, trying to give themselves as quick an advantage as possible early on in this session. So far, though, Christian Rasmussen, who has the quickest time, is just a shade over 1:13 on the lap of this 1.8-mile circuit.
Well, and Todd, one of the key things with these Cooper tires is how you bring them up to temperature as well. You don't want to go out there and pound on them in the first couple of laps when you're just trying to bring them up to temperature. You don't want to beat them early. If you take care of them, bring them up to temperature in a more focused and a more manageable fashion, then the tire is going to be a lot better when it does get to its maximum. So drivers always thinking about tire management from start to finish, as we now sit at a 1:13.006. Just about a half a second, 0.4 of a second off the best lap we saw yesterday for Cameron Shields. A little bit cooler here this morning than it was yesterday for qualifying. Of course, got a little bit of a breeze here as well. Checking humidity, it's a little bit higher, 88%, but aerodynamics like high humidity, right? They like dense air, so it'll be interesting.
Do you want speed? Do you want aero? The temperature versus the humidity level. The humidity, of course, makes for heavier, thicker air, which gives more downforce onto the cars.
And right now, we're looking almost at the same lap times as we did yesterday. Christian Brooks in the exclusive Autosports number 44 has worked his way to P1, a 1:12.655 for Christian Brooks. He ended up in 5th place yesterday. One of the drivers who did not go to fresh tires yesterday during our first qualifying session for race 1. Rasmussen still in 2nd. Prescott Campbell, Christian Brooks' teammate in exclusive Autosports, a 1:13.157. That is like 0.7 faster than he went yesterday. That is huge for Prescott Campbell. I have a feeling that they may have made a change in the cars for Prescott because he was quicker in practice. They went backwards a bit in qualifying. They worked their way up nicely because, in fact, exclusive Autosports 1st, 3rd, and 6th right now.
Just noticing that the 12 of Kiko Porto has come along onto pit road, so I'm interested to see what the team is going to do, if anything. This may be just a stop for adjustments. Again, the tire situation and managing that and how they move forward is going to be on top of their minds as well.
We'll definitely see some drivers working their way into pit lane here momentarily. Of course, you try to go kind of midway through if you're going to swap. Now, I said that yesterday, and it didn't work out. I had thought that we weren't going to see any changes in the session. Late in the run, Kiko Porto and Cameron Shields came in. I thought it was going to be too late, but we do have lap times continuing to fall. Still 13 minutes remaining in our qualifying session. We say hello to those who have tuned in to the Road to Indy TV app to watch this morning's qualifying sessions for both USF2000 and Indy Pro. My name's Rob Howden, the voice of the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. Todd Lewis, the voice of the event, joining me here on the broadcast. And Todd, I'll tell you, beautiful day. We saw some cloud cover coming yesterday, but for those who aren't here with us and can't really quite see it, there's a nice breeze coming off the water. We got blue sky, a little bit of cloud. This is textbook St. Petersburg. I love this.
This is the kind of weather that you have here in St. Petersburg for so much of the year, and the reason why so many people want to call this place home. Right. It is wonderful at this time of year, and it's even maybe a little warmer than we will find in March when this event is normally run, and when we'll be back here in March of next year to kick off the 2021 season. Kiko Porto did swap out tires. He's just returning back out onto the track now.
Well, that's not surprising, right? Kiko Porto and Cameron Shields would have started this session on the tires from yesterday. So they obviously made some changes to the car. They'll get to feel those changes. Even though they weren't on fresh tires, they would have been able to feel the changes they made on the used tires, and now they'll change. Here comes Eduardo Barrichello as well for Pabst Racing. He was P3. I don't think Eduardo went to fresh tires yesterday, so he may be going to only his second set now, had he started on used tires for this session. Simon Sykes back into pit lane here as well in the Metashare Legacy Autosport Maradi Autosport machine. Simon Sykes currently in the 12th position, an issue late in the run yesterday. He ended up in the 17th spot. But up front, check this out, Todd. We got 0.06 of a second separating Christian Brooks and Christian Rasmussen. Brooks in the 44 for Exclusive Autosports. Rasmussen in the number 6 for Jay Howard Driver Development. Already the champion, as you had said, got off to a massive start to the season, won the first 6 races in a row. Big struggle midway through the season as he had a couple of lowly finishes that actually brought what was a 90-point lead down to 3 points. He was able to get back on the horse and stretch it back out again and clinch the championship 2 weeks ago in New Jersey.
We're talking on Thursday with him, and he was joking that I just tried to make it interesting for everyone. And when you clinch the championship, you can have that kind of sense of humor about it. But during that time, you start off on such a high, but then the performance dips. You mentioned that there were a few mechanical issues that they had at different events as well. That's when the confidence starts to be questioned a little bit. So then it comes back, and then the momentum builds towards the end of the season.
Number of drivers coming into pit lane. Yuvan Sundermurthy, Matt Round-Garrido, both drivers for Pabst Racing. They'll roll in here to get their changes done. Here's your current top 10 as we're watching the number 3 roll around. Reese Gold in a battle for second place in points with Eduardo Barrichello. Reese actually announcing yesterday that he'll be moving to the Indy Pro 2000 category 2021 with Juncos Racing, which of course won the championship this year with Stingray Robb. So after 2 years in USF2000, kind of a calculated jump for the 16-year-old Reese Gold. He's currently third right now, a 112.731, 0.2 of a second back. Brooks, there goes Kiko Porto. Put the fresh tires on for Kiko. So he will not have fresh tires for either of the races today. Porto at the D-Force Racing number 12. Pole position earlier this year at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Currently P2 by about a 10th. Christian Brooks went faster, a 112.500. Porto second, Rasmussen third, Gold fourth. Michael D'Orlando, 2 times the winner this year. D'Orlando with the number 4 for Cape Motorsports, a 112.799, 0.3 of a second. Separate the fast 5. 6th is Jack William Miller, but he's already come to pit lane. Rolling down here now, as I believe is Cameron Shields with the number 10. Shields currently in the 10th spot. Fresh rubber for both these drivers here. Interesting to see both, as we know that the D-Force Racing was going to use their final set. I'll be interested during my lunch break there between our sessions and our races to find out who may have fresh tires still. And here's Christian Brooks, your provisional pole sitter in the Exclusive Autosports number 44. He rolls into pit lane just as Reese Gold takes over the top time, a 112.4006.
And the tire management is going on through these qualifying sessions, but that will continue through the race as well. If you have used up all of your fresh sets of tires, as you mentioned for Kiko Porto, who's made the change just a couple of minutes ago, your tire management now shifts to the race. You may get the benefit of a very good starting spot up near the front of the field, but you'll be starting on used tires. Your job will be to maintain those tires for the duration of the race to ensure that you have smooth, quick laps for the full session and keep the competition behind you.
And you do that with very precise turn-in input, right? You don't want to slide the car around. You can't be throwing the thing around, tossing it around, and really abusing those Cooper tires. It's all about being really, really calm in that turn-in here, which you want to have any time on a street course, because if you go too shallow on a turn-in, you're going to be wide on the exit, and it's going to be into the wall. So you got to be really smart here. You got to take care of the tires. The first 5 laps will be crucial, right? Once they're able to get a bit of a gap and kind of settle in, they'll be able to take care of those tires a little more. But it should be interesting to see what both Pico Porto and Cameron Shields are able to do. Shields will start on the pole position alongside his teammate this afternoon in the first of 2 races for USF2000.
Just under 8 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Rescold with the quickest time. Christian Brooks has now made a pit stop as well. Kiko Porto has the 3rd quickest time. We'll see if he's able to better it, but a nice showing from Rescold so far, and 7.5 minutes remaining. It'll be interesting to see who really makes an attempt in these final couple of laps.
So Christian Brooks coming in, I believe he probably went out on fresh tires as well. So I think that everybody's probably using their 2 tires here and in qualifying as opposed to saving a fresh set for the race. Brooks P2 right now, 112.500, just 100th of a second back. At New Jersey, Christian Brooks didn't get a chance to fully optimize his fresh tires. They went out early on the used tires in one of the qualifying runs. He was just getting rolling. He needed about 3 laps of that track to really hit the max, and maybe 3 or 4. He had just got his 2nd lap in when the red flag came out, and we didn't go back to green. There was time. We went on a red flag to wait. Eventually, they threw the checkered flag. He was 13th or 14th, I think, and had to work his way back forward. That was a miscalculation on the team for sure. This time, they're being a little bit smarter, I think. Already a good time to bank on, that banker lap, right? But then go the fresh tires to try to go P1.
That's the other part of tire management. It's great to have the plan to come in halfway through a session. Okay, then we're going to change to fresh tires. But you can't control what the other 20 cars are doing. If someone has trouble, if someone has an issue, you may not get that opportunity to get that hot lap later on.
That's what happened to Brooks at New Jersey. Kiko Porto has gone to the top of the charts now as Brooks gapping himself a little bit here. Brooks has got on the front straightaway, has a couple of drivers in front of him, so he's gapping himself. This is a turn 8-9 complex here at St. Petersburg. There's the number 20 of Simon Sykes. Porto up top with a 112.110. There goes Cameron Shields through. Tough part of the racetrack here. We've seen a number of drivers hit either the inside of turn number 9 trying to get a lot of speed because it leads onto that back straightaway, or push too wide coming out and tap the front. Here Orlando had the front, and I believe it was Rasmus Lent in the Indy Pro category who got the inside, the apex of turn number 9 yesterday. So you have to push hard here at St. Petersburg, and as we said, Todd, talked about it a lot yesterday, this track continually changing throughout the weekend, and wait till we get the IndyCar guys out here in an hour and a half. Man, everything's going to be, all bets are going to be off.
That's just what I was going to mention. The rubber will change again significantly when Indy cars hit the track a little bit later on. They put a lot of rubber down, and it's different from these cars as well, that sometimes it helps, sometimes you want to be on it, depending on the corner, depending on the track surface as well. Just looking at the quick time of Kiko Porter, a 112.1. Yesterday's quick time was a 112.6, so a half a second better.
Actually, even better, ladies and gentlemen. That's a new track record. That's a new track record right now. The 112.2 held by Alex Barron from a couple years ago. But Kiko Porto, that's a new track record here. 112.110. Kiko Porto, better than Barron, 1/4 of a second quicker than Cameron Shields. It's still the 2 D-Force drivers, first and second. I think we're going to see some good laps still coming from Christian Brooks, though. He has not yet laid his big lap down after changing tires. He was the last guy to come in to get rubber. So Porto, Shields, Gold, Rasmussen, and now Yuven Suter-Murthy into the Fast 5, a 112.483 for Yuven, fast driver in the Pabst Racing camp. Brooks runs in 6th, Barrichello 7th, Matt Roungarito 8th, Michael D'Orlando 9th, and birthday boy from yesterday, Wyatt Prokacek in the number 5. Another good qualifying run for Wyatt Prokacek. I wanted to say he was 10th yesterday. That was his best qualifying session of the year. Now he's P10 again. Christian Brooks to P1, and that's the new track record now. We'll set a new track record at the end of the session, a 112.0865 for Christian Brooks.
So now that we've gotten this close, of course, the focus is going to be with a little over 3.5 minutes remaining in this session. Will anybody be able to get under a minute 12 and really notice it? But they are so close right now, but what a leap forward that they've been able to take since yesterday.
Well, the track getting better and better, as we said, a little cooler. It feels, it's not, it's 88 degrees still, but it feels cooler this morning with that breeze, I think. A 112.08 0.86 for Christian Brooks, the young American, looking to get his first career road to Indy pole position, 200th quicker than Kiko Porto.
How much is that breeze helping these cars as well? The direction it's blowing, maybe assisting them just a little bit down that front stretch, and every little bit will help.
Yeah, agreed. It is behind them, essentially from the driver's left and behind them as they work their way out of the final corner down into turn number 1. So a little assist potentially from the breeze. But right now, some excitement in qualifying as we have a new track record set already. Right now, provisionally a 1:12.086 for Christian Brooks. Still 3 minutes to go. Brooks goes faster, but not able to get into the 111s. A 1:12.056. 1:12.056 for Brooks.
Faster, but just barely by 3/100ths of a second. So Christian Brooks, after a pretty good qualifying effort yesterday with the 5th quickest time, now has the new track record. We'll see if he can hang on to it for 2.5 minutes.
Well, he was the driver that was the last one to come in to get the fresh Cooper tires, so he'll still have the best tires of anybody else out there. Barrichello just turned his best lap, a 1:12.559. He's a half a second back. So Christian Brooks looking to secure the pole, the inside of the front row for the start of race number 2, which will be tomorrow morning. We'll kick things off at 9:30 with USF2000. So it's Brooks, Porto, Shields, Gold, and Rasmussen with 2 minutes to go. And I'll tell you, D-Force Racing has to be happy. They're first and second in race 1 and now second and third in race number 2.
That's a team that you can see has certainly figured out a little bit something in this track that they have learned or that they have picked up, and that's a great indication of the driver and team feedback as well. What are you feeling out on course? What do you need?
There we go, folks. We're into the 111s for the first time. A 111.966. Christian Brooks has broken the 112. That is almost 0.3 of a second quicker than the existing track record when we got here at St. Petersburg. What a great run here for Brooks. He and the exclusive Autosport team have dialed this car in. The number 44 P1 with just over a minute remaining. Kiko Porto still in that second spot. Cameron Shields in third. Eduardo Barrichello, good lap for Eduardo. He jumps to P4. Shaved, I want to say he probably shaved about 0.2 of a second off, then Brooks went faster. And so it only really is a 1/10 of a second. He's still 4/10 back. But Barrichello, a couple of good top 5 starting positions as they run on the racetrack. He'll start third in race 1, currently starting 4th in race number 2.
Even with the new track record, we've still got such close competition among those first few cars, maybe a half a second separating, and even as far down as 9 and 10, you're about 6/10, 7/10 of a second. What a testament to these drivers, such close competition.
And it's really only 1.5 for the entire 21-car field. That's unheard of. 1.5 seconds separating the whole field. Literally, if you're somewhere here around 15th, 16th, let's say you get 0.3 of a second, you end up in 9th or 8th. Like it's amazing just to find that if you have that magic lap, your best one you've got, you're going to jump massively in this field. It's so tight, as you said.
Drivers are coming around to the course. No one has entered pit lane yet, except Christian Brooks has just entered pit lane. He's decided, I've done the new track record. I got under 1:12, and he's going to call it a day. Checkered flag just about to fly now out on course. That is the end of qualifying. Drivers will be allowed to complete their laps, but I don't know that anyone can compete with Christian Brooks for that lap time.
Brooks, the first driver into pit lane. They'll send him all the way down to the end so they can get that run back into pit lane. But indeed, Christian Brooks at that number 44. Fast driver, 111.966. Incredible qualifying effort there for Brooks. We've been kind of waiting for Christian to drop the hammer. Here comes the 16 as well as Josh Pearson. He's 14th position. Again, Pearson I think just 15 years of age now, 14 when we started the season. Josh, a young driver we'll be watching over the next couple of years for sure. Cameron Shields in the pit lane. He's done. Move him P3. Kiko Porto not able to do it either. A 1:12.6 on his last lap. So Brooks, Porto, and Shields. Barrichello still on the racetrack. He's the last guy to go after it. He was a 1:12.39 last time, very similar to his lap time, but he'd have to have 0.4 of a second to be able to take that away from Brooks. I don't see anybody doing it right now, but let's not call it until Barrichello comes across and gets that checkered flag, because I've been bitten before trying to give someone the official pole time. Only one driver able to get through, and indeed Barrichello is done. Only one driver breaking the 1:12 mark, and we have a new track record for the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. That belongs to Christian Brooks. in the number 44 as the Californian does a 111.966. Just over a tenth quicker than Kiko Porto, who will be the second place starter on both races. So front row start for Kiko Porto and D-Force for both USF2000 races here this weekend. His teammate Cameron Shields will start third right behind Brooks. He'll start pole in race number 1. So Porto and Shields, very impressive during these qualifying sessions. Eduardo Barrichello ends up in 4th. Reese Gold rounding out your fast 5. Christian Rasmussen in 6th. Yuvan Sundermurthy 7th. Matt Round-Garrido 8th. Michael D'Orlando 9th, and Josh Green rounding out the top 10 for Cape Motorsports. Christian Brooks, of course, looking for his first win of the season, as are Kiko Porto and Cameron Shields. But the battle for second place is still up for grabs. We know Christian Rasmussen has the championship already done, but Eduardo Barrichello and Reese Gold are in the fight for second place in points. They're going to start essentially 4th and 5th here for race number 2. Where are they? They're 3rd and 4th for race number 1. So there you go. The two guys battling it out for the runner-up spot of the championship are going to be side by side at the start of both these races here at St. Petersburg. So there it is, folks, on the big board. Christian Brooks on the pole. Tremendous run. New track record of 111.966. Kiko Porto 2nd. Cameron Shields 3rd. D-Force in 2nd and 3rd. Eduardo Barrichello 4th. Reese Gold 5th. Christian Rasmussen, your champion, in 6th. Yuvan Sundermurthy and his teammate Matt Round-Garrido 7th and 8th. And Michael D'Orlando and Josh Green round out the top 10 for Cape Motorsports. Interesting qualifying session, Todd. And anytime you get a chance to see a new track record, always exciting.
Oh, yeah, that's very dramatic. These USF2000 cars will be back on track to race beginning at 4:40 this afternoon. USF2000 cars, they will take the green flag at 4:40. Coming up next, it is Indy Pro 2000 qualifying just after the top of the hour. They will wrap up our race program at 5:40 this afternoon. In between two sessions with the NTT IndyCar Series, practice this morning, and then they will have qualifying later on this afternoon. Thanks for joining us here at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Thank you for following the social distance and COVID-19 protocols as you're entering the grounds. Please maintain your social distance. We remind you again, many hand sanitizing stations throughout the grounds. There is so much to enjoy here on the grounds. The speed zone is open, gasoline alley is open, and so much more. Welcome, race fans. 400 Beach Seafood and Tap House welcomes you to the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. 400 Beach Seafood and Tap House is open for lunch and dinner daily. 24 ice-cold draft beers on tap. Fresh seafood from our shores to your table. Visit 400 Beach Seafood and Tap House on Beach Drive today, and thank you, race fans. We're going to take a quick break. We will come back with more qualifying. The Indy Pro 2000 Series qualifying is up next, and then they will be followed by the NTT IndyCar Series with their practice session this morning. That is all coming up.
Can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
A rare triple header for the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship took place over 2 days at the New Jersey Motorsports Park. Race 1 saw Brazilian Eduardo Barrichello start up front and finish up front. The Pabst Racing driver launched from the pole position at the start while having to defend against championship leader Christian Rasmussen. As Barrichello drove towards his third win of the season, J. Howard driver development pilot Christian Rasmussen stayed in second position to defend his already slim point lead over an ailing Reese Gold, who would backslide to finish 15th. Gold's Cape Motorsports teammate Michael D'Orlando would hang tough to finish the first race of the weekend in third. The rest of the weekend in Jersey replicated much of the 2020 season, as it all belonged to Rasmussen. The 20-year-old Danish driver scored back-to-back wins on Sunday, marking his 8th and 9th trips to Tatis Victory Lane in 2020. The second race of the tripleheader saw D-Force Racing's Cameron Shields and Eduardo Barrichello join Rasmussen on the podium for round 14. while the Round 15 podium was completed by Cape Motorsports' Josh Green and Exclusive Autosports' Prescott Campbell. The truly impressive weekend in Jersey capped off what has been a stellar season for Rasmussen, as the young driver from Copenhagen, Denmark mathematically secured the 2020 Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship and the Road to Indy scholarship that comes with it 1 week early to end 2020.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Stingray Robb entered New Jersey 49 points on top of the championship fight in the Indy Pro 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires. Robb's closest challenger, Devlin DeFrancesco, drew first blood on Saturday. The Andretti Steinbrenner Autosport driver swept the first of 3 races on the weekend when he drove from the pole position to win the 13th round of 2020. And while Robb did what he had to do by finishing as close to DeFrancesco as possible by coming home in second, with D-Force Racing's Manuel Sullivan in third, DeFrancesco's time in the sun would quickly run out. Race 2 of the weekend was run under threatening skies, but the rain stayed away. As the field raced from the green flag into turn 1, DeFrancesco locked up his right front Cooper tire while attempting to make a move to the inside of Yunkos Racing driver Artem Petrov. DeFrancesco made heavy contact with the right rear of Manuel Sullivan, forcing both of those drivers to pit to repair extensive damage. Robb held off the competition to win the 14th round of 2020. Stingray was joined on the podium by D-Force Racing's Parker Thompson and his teammate at Yunkos Racing, Artem Petrov. The weekend ended under dark and wet conditions Sunday afternoon, as Manuel Sullivan scored the win in the last race of the weekend, following a mid-race duel at the front with pole sitter from Pabst Racing, Colin Kaminsky, following a full course caution. Kaminsky would enjoy another podium finish in second place after leading the rain-soaked race early on. Stingray Robb completed the podium in third position, which would give the Idaho native enough points to mathematically secure the title in the Indy Pro 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires, effectively sending him to Indy Lights in 2021. Welcome to Road to Indy TV. Download the app to watch live and get access to exclusive content all season long.
It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
karting and motorsport enthusiasts. Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Welcome to Road to Indy TV. Download the app to watch live and get access to exclusive content all season long.
Green, green, green. They're going to go 3 wide.
And Andretti Carr moving up here at Mid-Ohio.
Turn number 4, side by side through the corner.
Regis DK and Robert McGinnis. A dead heat at the exit of turn number 2. Side by side, and Oliver Askew scores.
Qualifying session for race 2.
Well, Todd, you can't expect the momentum and that confidence we've talked about all yesterday to stop because the season's done and he's won the championship. I keep using the word exclamation point because the story that you write throughout the entire season, you get that exclamation point on the end. You want to go out strong. Everybody wants to go out strong. I don't care if you've had a rough season or you've had the best season of your career. You want to cap it off with that big finish. This was supposed to be the big start here at St. Petersburg. It's the big finish here for the 2020 season now with everything that's happened throughout this season, throughout the world. So all these drivers still extremely focused on trying to cap this season on a high note. Because to be honest, because we're so late into the season now, normally we'd be done by the mid part of September or early September sometimes. The Labor Day we've had as our final race a number of years. We're here now well into the end of October. We should almost be testing already for 2021. That's the big thing. Testing's going to start, I believe, probably next week. We're going to get right back at the new season as soon as we cap things off here, but still work to be done.
So much like we just saw in the USF2000 series, the Indy Pro 2000 series, tire management is going to be part of the story again. It was yesterday. In fact, in the same order, the USF2000 cars went out, the Indy Pro series watched them, and everybody kind of shifted and adjusted on the fly. It seemed it's like, hey, changing tires halfway through might be the way to go. So this session will be a little bit different.
Here's the intriguing part of this particular category. Stingray Robb eventually did come in and put fresh tires on, went back out, and actually went quicker. His time without those tires, his initial time would have been enough to still be on the pole position. So although he was, I'm happy I got the pole position, he feels like, man, I probably wasted a fresh set of tires. I probably didn't need to go back out. Of course, they got very close to him within a couple of hundredths of a second, did Daniel Frost, but his fast lap from before those fresh tires would have been good enough. So you could just see he was kind of lamenting the fact that they did it. Yeah, I got the pole. It's $1,500 to win a pole in the Indy Pro 2000 category, but I think he would love to have had that little jump up on everybody, knowing that everybody else went to fresh rubber and he didn't. He would have had those new tires for later in the weekend.
As we're into the final race weekend of the Indy Pro 2000 series as well, there are drivers that are still fighting for positions in the overall championship standings.
Oh,
and we talked about, and there are drivers that are fighting for race victories that haven't been able to score one yet this year.
Yeah, if we look at the battle for second spot in the championship right now, it's essentially Devlin DiFrancesco really has the position right now. I don't think anybody's really going to be able to challenge him. He's that close to be getting just a couple of race wins. We've seen Manuel Suleiman get big throughout the second half of the season, but you mentioned the two drivers who have not yet been able to get that victory. And the drivers who we've seen win before, and that's Hunter McElroy for Pabst Racing and Parker Thompson, who now runs this year for D-Force Racing. Parker, of course, was swept the weekend here back in 2019. McElroy was the second place driver, runner-up last year in USF2000. He won a number of races last year. They just haven't quite been able to break through, even though we've had 7 different winners, and that's probably one of the reasons we've had so many different guys who have been able to get victories here this year.
Says a lot about the competition in this series. To have 7 different winners in the Indy Pro Series is just a variety of different races. Circumstances fell in different events. To have so many different winners is a wonderful statement about the series.
Indeed. Daniel Frost. We had a couple of drivers, obviously, who were going to run Indy Lights this year. That was obviously one of the things that kind of changed things around with the landscape of open wheel racing throughout this season. There was drivers who were locked and loaded to do Indy Lights. When that program went on hiatus for the 1 year, guys went in different directions to try to do some different things. Kyle Kirkwood, who won the Indy Pro 2000 championship last year, ended up doing some sports car racing. We watched drivers move to a couple other championships. We saw drivers like Daniel Frost stay where he was last year. Daniel ran with Exclusive Autosport in 2019, was able to win 2 races. He won on the oval at Lucas Oil Raceway, and he also won on the streets of Toronto. So he decided to come back here again with a new team, with another team, Turn 3 Motorsports. He won the very first race of the season, but didn't get back to victory over the remainder of the campaign. So that was some issues for Daniel, but we expect him to dial things up. He's going to start on the outside of the front row for the race this afternoon.
Let's talk quickly about that Indy Lights series, which pushed pause this season, but will come back next year.
Indeed.
They'll be here at the Firestone Grand Prix in St. Petersburg, March 5th through the 7th, as part of the program in the spring of 2021. And the field looks sensational. Of course, those drivers that have scholarships and others have said, yes, we're coming back for sure.
Well, that's the interesting thing. We, of course, got one session in with every one of our series on the road to Indy when we were back here in March. But everybody I talked to who was going to run in 2020 is coming back in 2021. Plus, you're going to have all the new guys coming. We've, of course, got Stingray Robb coming, Linus Lindquist with a scholarship from Honda from the Formula Regional Americas Championship. He's going to come and run as well. It's going to be where people end up landing, whether it's Andretti or Bilardi or Exclusive or Juncos or HMD, or maybe we'll see a new team come in as well, because there's a lot of interest in the series right now for 2021. I think when we get back here in about 4 months, we're going to see between 12 and 14 cars in Indy Lights.
We will see the Indy Pro 2000 series out on track for qualifying in just a moment. As was the case with the USF2000 cars, the tire management is going to be part of it as we hear the engine start to fire along pit road. It'll be a little bit different, though, because, again, tires were changed during yesterday's qualifying session, so the tire management shifts to getting through this session and then having as fresh a set of tires as possible for the races.
Yeah, if anybody had saved a set and only used one set yesterday, they could use one set now, potentially would have a fresh set for either of the races. But it seems to me, if USF2000 is any indication, everybody's going through all of their fresh tires for qualifying, and then we'll use the scuff sets in the races. When we talked about Indy Lights, one other driver who's kind of been, it was a late entry we found out about, and that's Rasmus Lent. He was, of course, the runner-up last year to Kyle Kirkwood in Indy Pro 2000, had tested and was scheduled to run the entire year as he did in the test session here in March with Bilardi Auto Racing in the Indy Lights series. Like Kirkwood, he went and did some LMP3 racing in IMSA, ran 4 events for Performance Tech. Decided, hey, you know what, there's a seat available. I'm going to get back behind the wheel. Rasmus Lent with us here again, a very quick Swedish driver who really impressed everybody last year.
Green flag is in the air. Cars are exiting on pit road. We'll wait and see if everyone actually pulls out or if there's anyone hanging back. It looks like there's a couple of cars that are hanging back, and that, of course, is to create space out on track. You want as much open space as you can so you can get a clean, quick lap, your best opportunity at your quickest time.
You know, people will ask the question of, hey, why don't you want to be in someone's draft to be able to get that bonus? Well, the issue, unless they're, number one, you want them to be almost exactly the same speed as you. If they're holding you up at all, it doesn't work. But because of the way these cars are designed, you need to have that air flowing over the front wing to be able to get that front downforce. If you're too close to a car, you'll hear them call it aero wash, or the car will start to push away on them a little bit. That does come to play in the races. You don't want that at all in qualifying. You want open track in qualifying because you know you can get the job done. The car is set up to run through clean air, so you want open racetrack, and that's really on the driver. It is on the team to a certain extent. When you come to change tires, they're going to release you from the pit lane. Hopefully they're going to release you so you're not going to come out behind someone, but otherwise drivers can then kind of hang back on one lap to be able to make sure you have a gap in front of you.
First car's coming around. That's Parker Thompson coming across the start-finish line and now making the right-hand turn into corner number 1. It'll take a lap or two to get the tires up to temperature. Once again, similar to the USF2000, you want to build that tire temperature slowly. You don't want to be charging hard too quickly. Yeah, don't throw the car around. You got to be really smooth here on the opening couple of laps. You want to bring these tires up to temperature slowly. I would not be surprised. I didn't quite see when they came out. I would not be surprised if most drivers would be on a used set that they won't use now, like one of the sets they used yesterday in qualifying. Head out on track in those tires right now to get kind of comfortable with the car, then put that fresh set of tires on to really lay down that qualifying lap. It was series champion Stingray Robb who had the quickest time yesterday. Daniel Frost alongside on the front row. They will start 1 and 2 in the Indy Pro 2000 race later on this afternoon at 5:40 p.m. That will wrap up our day here at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. NTT IndyCar Series is coming up. Of course, first this morning will be their practice session. Immediately after this Indy Pro 2000 qualifying session, IndyCar qualifying, of course, as well, and more racing as well. The MX5 Cup cars back, Porsche GT3 Cup, USF2000, and Indy Pro 2000, all racing later on today. A minute 9.8, the first time for Stingray Robb by on lap number 1 again. We'll see these times drop a couple of seconds.
Drivers working their way down. Great shot here at turn number 1. You see how wide it is. Of course, the airport runway, nice and wide. At the start of the races, it's the driver's right where you have to watch out for, because, of course, no one really drives that inside line coming down. If someone tries to make the dive move to the inside, number 1, it's very dirty. Number 2, it's a painted surface down there. You'll see the white lines painted on the inside. Coming through one of the parking lots around the racetrack here, you can see those lines in the parking lot, the temporary circuit here at St. Petersburg. This is where you really have to be smart with car placement. You don't want to make mistakes. This is now coming out of turn number 9, I believe. There's the 8-9 combination, a couple of right-handers lead onto the straightaway. This straightaway here, all the way down, a little bit of a kink, and then into turn number 10, which is a crucial part of the corner. Really got to make a strong exit there, because you're exiting aiming right at the wall. So you have to be perfect on your entry. Here's the final hairpin that leads onto the straightaway here at St. Petersburg. Again, another very crucial part of this racetrack. You have to be able to get the power down out of the final corner of this racetrack to get the run all the way down to turn number 1. You know, driver we haven't mentioned yet, I'll bring up right now as we have some time early in this session. Tristan Charpentier has joined us here this weekend with Exclusive Autosport. He was actually part of the Andretti Autosport camp back in March when we were here for the opening round. He was looking to try to run Indy Lights with Andretti for 2020. Of course, with the COVID-19 shutdown, everything kind of stopped, and Tristan pressed the reset button, looking at the road to Indy, and is elected to make his re-entry here this weekend with Exclusive Autosport in Indy Pro 2000. And I think that's what he's looking at for next year, is to run Indy Pro before jumping into Indy Lights. And I think the thing for Tristan, again, that first session, he was smart, stayed out of trouble. He was about 4 seconds back in the opening session, which was absolutely perfect for a guy who's never been to this racetrack before, never driven this car before, and you're going head-to-head with a guy like Parker Thompson, who's the fastest guy in practice, who's raced here in USF2000 probably 3 times, at least twice in Indy Pro. Parker knows this track. It's probably his 6th weekend here at St. Petersburg. So Tristan, I know he's going to say, hey, I want to be up top, but the better concept for him would be to be smart and just get comfortable with the car and the racetrack itself. Because, going around this place, it's tough.
It is a challenge to get around this place. There are so many different corners with different apex points that you have to navigate. Some are longer and sweeping, and others are tighter turns where you have to move the car a little more quickly. Looking at the quick time at the moment from Stingray Robb, 3 laps in, a 1:08.3, and after the last session, it got me looking. Parker Thompson holds the track record here with a 1:07.9, so not too far away, and we may see some quicker times before the end of this if conditions stay the same.
I think it's perfect. I was erroneous when I said it was around 88 degrees. It was actually 77, so significantly cooler than it was yesterday in qualifying. And with that light breeze, I really think there's an opportunity with the heavy air, too. The heavy air, the engines don't love it. but aerodynamics love it, right? That's the one difference. If we could have heavy air and cool temperatures, we'd be rock stars. But there's definitely a possibility for someone to take a run at Parker Thompson's qualifying race record of 107.9, as you said.
Parker Thompson currently sitting third with a 108.7. Hunter McElroy second, and it is Stingray Robb, the series champion, with the quick time of the moment of 108.3. And as quickly as that happens, it changes Colin Kaminsky, the third quickest time, and Parker Thompson along pit road.
So I think that a lot of these drivers probably started on their used tires from yesterday's qualifying run. The tires that they're not going to use it all this weekend, right? They've got 6-7 laps on those tires. They'll do 6-7 laps right now just to get comfortable with the changes that they made overnight. Anytime you make a change to a car, you'd like to get a feel what it's like on the tires you actually came off the track on, because if immediately you put fresh tires on, a lot of times fresh tires will mask any changes. A fresh tire will mask any mistakes in the car too, because you got so much grip. As soon as that grip starts to go away, if the car's pushing or if it's loose, you start feeling it again, right? So fresh tires always mask everything. So I think a lot of these guys coming out, as I said, tires from yesterday, now we're going to see fresh rubber. So let's be real. Parker Thompson right now is a second off. Let's say Stingray Robb, he's what, 4/10 off a track record. He's going to put fresh rubber on. Look out, we could be down into the high 107s and have a new track record like we had in USF2000. Here we go, mass exodus from the racetrack as in comes the D-Force drivers as well. The number 6 of Moises de Oliveira coming in, the number 8 of Manuel Suleiman. Here's the 7 of Corey Enders. So all 4 of the drivers from D-Force Racing, Todd, have worked their way onto pit lane, as has the Pabst Racing driver, Hunter McElroy.
7.5 minutes have elapsed. There are 12.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Not surprised that the change is being made a little bit early, as you said, starting on tires from yesterday. So now you'll make the switch to the fresh rubber. Any additional adjustments that you've decided and something you may have learned from your driver in these first initial 4 or 5 laps, and then make those adjustments and return on the fresh tires for the final 10 minutes or so of the session. And
sometimes you'll see just a minor adjustment, right? These drivers, especially those at the pointy end of the grid who have so much experience, they're going to want just a little bit of something. I want to, give me a little more front grip. I want a little more of this, a little more of that. And just that little bit more, just a quarter turn on a damper, whatever it may be, could be 2 to 3/10 of a second. Stingray Robb coming in as well in the Firehouse number 2 machine for Juncos Racing. Stingray, of course, winning that championship at New Jersey Motorsports Park. And you can see the emotions absolutely overflow when it was done, because Stingray has been in this game for a long time. I had the pleasure of watching him race karts back when he was 8-9 years of age, running over in Italy. Watched him coming up through the ranks. They've been focused and committed to Indy Pro 2000. In hindsight, they said they probably should have went to USF2000, but in 2017, the last year of the old Pro Formula Mazda car in what was Pro Mazda at the time, they decided to go there. So this is his 4th year, and he's run 56 races or 57 races, something like that. In his 49th race, he was able to get that first win at Mid-Ohio, and that opened the floodgates with the confidence, all that momentum, and then he swept at Indianapolis, which was huge for him.
But what a roller coaster to ride those first couple of seasons in the Indy Pro Series. As you mentioned, to run so many races, to be close, to have opportunities for victory, and to not have it get there. You can understand why young drivers might feel frustrated, might get discouraged, and it might lead them to try to be more aggressive than they should be at different moments, which only adds to the frustration and the burden that they're carrying. And to break that through, that's a big leap. Daniel Frost goes a little bit quicker now with a 108.2 in this quick time.
Everybody rolling back into pit lane. Here comes Devlin DiFrancesco, currently second in the points, and then Andretti Steinbrenner, one plant number 17. Andrew, he's P5, back by about a half a second. Daniel Frost dropped down to 108.252. right before coming into pit lane, so we'll see fresh rubber for him. Here comes Colin Kaminsky. So almost the entire pit lane is filled. I think only a couple drivers remain on the racetrack. In fact, the number 9 to Parker Thompson back out onto the racetrack, having already made his changes to new rubber. So Thompson out there by himself now. But you talk a little bit about Stingray Robb, and he was with another team for his first 2 years, then moved to Juncos Racing, and that was really a great fit. But of course, Juncos, man, they've won so many championships over the years. You date back into the mid-2000s with titles that they were able to win coming up through the ranks with some tremendous drivers. But just even more recently, you think of the championships in Indy Lights with Spencer Pigot and Kyle Kaiser, what they were able to do with Rinus VeeKay, of course, 2 years ago in this category, 3 years ago in this category, right? Yeah, 2 years ago. I've got to realize that we've got a champion already for 2020. Stingray Robb winning the championship with him this year. Then Kyle Kirkwood, then the year before was Rinus VeeKay. they've done so much, and they're such a great team. And Ricardo Juncos is such a hands-on team owner as well. And that's one of the things when you talk to the Robb family, they talk about how connected they've been with Ricardo. They've had a lot of great people around him. Amazing to see what Stingray Robb's been doing.
Parker Thompson just coming out of the 13-14 combination towards the start-finish line. He has made the switch to those fresh tires. We'll see what kind of time he can post up first, but it's going to take a little time for those tires to get up to speed. That's a 109.2, and still a 108.2 is the quick time at the moment. Danielle Frost followed by Stingray Robb with a 108.3. The track record is in sight, we'll say.
Most definitely. Parker Thompson's third year in the series, and he was here the first year with the PM18, ran with Exclusive Autosport. Exclusive Autosport came in with the USF2000 the first year in USF2000. Parker jumped up with them to help them develop that new car. So he's been in this car for 3 years now. He understands what to do with the car, what to do with the tires, and how to take care of the Coopers. Again, Parker Thompson won both races last year. Here at St. Petersburg in 2019, a 109.2, the opening lap for him on those fresh tires. We'll see what he's able to get done as he works his way now through turn number 9. It's that quick kink between turns 9 and 10. Thompson goes to P5, down to a 108.6, so a bit quicker for Parker, 108.628. 7/10 off his track record.
Excuse me, Parker Thompson came in, got his tire change and service done a little bit easier. Again, that gives him the opportunity to get back out on track with even fewer cars. Lots of wide open space, a little less time, to worry about the competition.
To a certain extent, the only thing I'm worried about is when you come out first, you're getting back up, and just as you're getting on to your best laps, you're worried that someone could come out in front of you. That's one of the things I would be worried about, right? Because I talked about the fact that, the tire temperatures have to be perfect, the pressures have to be right, so that the tire is going to be at its optimum when the driver's at its best and the fuel load's going down. But the driver has to have that gap. And if someone pulls out in front of you and on their outlap, they're messing around, they're not getting up to speed quick enough, whatever it may be, if Parker catches them on his fast lap on what would be his flyer, man, that puts you from maybe P1 down to P4, 5, 6. It can just destroy your qualifying run.
Just over 6.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session for the Indy Pro 2000. Parker Thompson now jumps up another spot, a 108.5. He is fourth quick, so doing exactly what we talked about, starting to build up and find a little bit of speed.
And I'm thinking lap 3, lap 4, lap 5, potentially the best on these tires. We'll see. Parker now up into the fourth position, a 108.584, but lots of guys still to come with fresh tires, and still about a little over 6 minutes remaining in the session. Good shot coming out of the final corner on the racetrack. The drivers will be grabbing gears all the way down into turn number 1. Very wide turn 1 as you look at it. Again, we'll take a time to say hello to those of you tuning in on the Road to Indy TV app. We know we have people from all over the world watching. I know the McElroy family gets up super early back down in Australia to be able to watch this race. I know a lot of people around the world get up early to watch these events, and we thank you so much for doing that. We're happy that we're able to bring it to you because we know that as a parent or as a race fan, family member, whatever it may be, when you're not here at the racetrack, man, it's tough. You want to be, and old days you used to be able to watch live timing, but the minute we were able to go live video, I think it just brought everybody so much closer, and I'm thrilled to get the messages I do for people listening back home. So thank you so much. Great to have you with us here on what is a gorgeous day right now here in St. Petersburg. New driver working his way to the top, Colin Kaminsky in the Pabst Racing number 19, lays down a 108.121. Really good run here for Colin Kaminsky. He was 7th in yesterday's qualifying run for race 2. This is pretty impressive, Todd, for Colin, a rookie driver. Now, you can't really call them rookies when they're through an entire season right now, just finishing off his freshman season here in Indy Pro.
Daniel Frost and Stingray Robb rounding out the top 3 in times now. Those two have finished their service. They're just getting back out onto the track and starting to get those tires back up to the optimum temperature. As we get into the final minute or 2, they should be putting down their quickest laps of the session as well.
Yeah, Parker Thompson backed it down to a 108.7. He's not going to be happy with that if indeed there are some issues for Parker. 108.7 last lap, a 108.5 is best now. Just over 0.4 of a second back at Kaminsky. And he goes quicker, and is that a new track record? Where are we? 107.928. 107.928, not quite. 4 thousandths of a second off the track record. Parker Thompson still holding on to that honor. Wow.
If they hadn't put that extra coat of paint on the car, he probably would have the track record.
Or he shouldn't have had that muffin this morning, right? That's what it was.
Right.
That's what it was. So Colin Kaminsky needs one more lap to potentially steal the top time away. But I'll tell you this, Pabst Racing, P1 and P2, this is their best qualifying effort so far. Still a long time to go, 4 minutes. Don't go too crazy. Parker Thompson's got himself back up to a 108.174.
This is the shuffling late in the session that we talked about. We're starting to see it now. Under 4 minutes remaining, Colin Kaminsky within a whisker of a new track record. And so is Daniel Frost, who's also broken through the 108 mark, a 107.989. Hunter McElroy, third quickest.
We may see a 107.8. I have a feeling these drivers are just starting to dial things in right now. Kaminsky, Frost, McElroy, Thompson, and Stingray Robb, your top five. 0.4 of a second separate those top five drivers. Kaminsky, 107.928, 0.04 of a second off the track record.
We mentioned this yesterday. This is why they now go to 4 decimal places on the timing screen, because it is so close in terms of the competition out on track, and of course with the track record just 4 1/1000ths away.
0.06 of a second separate first and second, Kaminsky and Frost. McElroy in third spot. Hunter McElroy qualified fourth for race number 1. He's P3 for race number 2 right now. It's been a good progression. Hunter McElroy has been strong through the second half of this season. No doubt about that. Stingray Robb, that's a new track record by 0.3 of a second. Wow. 107.601. Stingray Robb said, why are you guys worried about hundredths of a second? I'm going to knock almost 0.4 off. 107.601. You're going to be kidding me.
That doesn't break the track record. That smashes
That's it. Shatter, I believe, is the word we use. Oh, man, what a lap. 0.3 quicker than Kaminsky, a 107.601. Remember I talked about the term exclamation point? That's one of them right there. That is laying down a lap for Stingray Robb. Does anybody else have anything for him? Charles Finelli in the number 83 Fat Boy Racing entry will come into pit lane. Kaminsky's in the pit lane. That's it for Kaminsky as well with 2 minutes to go.
Daniel Frost has also gotten under the 108 mark. 3 drivers in the 107s now. Stingray Robb, Colin Kaminsky, and Danielle Frost all under the 108 mark, with Stingray Robb with a huge lap to make a track record.
I'm a little beside myself. I was expecting to see an 8, like I said. He literally almost a 5. It's a 6:01. He's literally 0.02 away from getting into the 5s. What a lap for Stingray Robb. Man, this guy is on a roll right now. Looking forward to seeing what he's able to do next year in Indy Lights. Will he go with Juncos Racing? I haven't heard any word yet whether or not he'll stay with Juncos and try to follow in the footsteps of Renus VK. We'll see. A 107.601 though, with just about a minute remaining in the session. Kaminsky in second, but he's in pit lane, so leaving him up for a potential attack from Frost, McElroy, and Rasmus Lent has worked his way up to P5. Rasmus was 8th in the opening qualifying run for race 1. Kind of starting to get his feet wet a little bit. It's interesting for him to come back, having not been in the seat for a year here running in the Indy Pro 2000 class. He's done some sports car racing, but I wonder when he come back, go, hey, I was the runner-up last year. I won a bunch of races. I'm going to roll in here. This is going to be it's going to be easy, man. I'm going to be super fast. Well, these guys have been racing these cars, and I don't even want to say all year, because really it's a whole year combined into 3 months. These guys have been behind the wheel a ton since July.
It's been non-stop racing almost since they did finally get back going at the beginning of the summer. 20 seconds remaining in the qualifying session. Stingray Robb with the enormous lap of 107.601, a new track record. He has entered pit lane. So is Colin Kaminsky, Daniel Frost, and I'm not sure that anyone is even going to try to attempt that. We had a couple of other drivers, Hunter McElroy and Rasmus Lent, so close to getting into the 107s as well. They have all shown really well today.
Stingray Robb, those are a number of drivers coming into pit lane to cap things off here. That's it for Rasmus Lent as well. Corey Enders remaining on the racetrack. Didn't get a lot of time actually didn't get any time at all in qualifying, so I think Enders just trying to get as many laps as he can here right now. He'll run the full session. Checker flag being thrown. Hunter McElroy, the only driver on the racetrack with an opportunity to potentially steal this away. He does not. He backs it off at that last lap. So Stingray Robb, first of all, let's say Colin Kaminsky. Congrats to Colin. He put on a great run there in the qualifying session. Driver to Homer Glen, Illinois. Kaminsky, again, one of the top drivers last year in USF2000. Capping off his opening year here in Indy Pro. A 107.928, just 0.04 thousandths of a second slower than what was the track record at that point. Colin, congratulations.
I feel bad for Colin Kaminsky.
Totally.
He was 4 1,000ths. He didn't even get to hold the track record for a lap or two, which would have been nice, but he was so close.
But Stingray Rob comes to Colin and says, you guys got to stop talking about thousandths of a second. I'm going to take 3/10 off. 107.6015, the new track record here at St. Petersburg for the Indy Pro 2000 categories. So what a morning for the road to Indy. 2 new track records set. Christian Brook setting the track record in USF2000. Stingray Rob, a new track record here in Indy Pro 2000, a 107.601. Colin Kaminsky ends up in second. Daniel Frost in third. Hunter McElroy in fourth. And Rasmus Lent rounding out the Fast Five. Artem Petrov for Juncos Racing in sixth. Parker Thompson flirted up top for a while, ends up P7. He will not be happy with that. Devlin DiFrancesco will not as well. He's in the battle for second in points. Manuel Suleiman in eighth, and Corey Enders rounding out the top 10.
What a terrific qualifying session. As mentioned, 2 new track records already. Indy Pro 2000 and the USF2000 both see new track records. Both of these series will be back on track a little bit later on. USF2000 racing at 4:40 p.m. and the Indy Pro 2000 racing at 5:40 p.m. I'm expecting we're going to see the same kind of heavy competition in action this afternoon for these series.
Oh yeah, it's the last couple of races of the season. These guys are, we got 4 months to go back racing again. We're going to go at it hardcore, and this racetrack has always been that. The opening corner of our races is always absolutely thrilling, and there's been so many times that we've had that final battle near the end of the race because this track will line itself up for that. Now, that said, Stingray Rob, 0.3 of a second clear. He's going to have a really easy afternoon knowing how much speed he's got right now. He'll be really excited to get rolling. And again, he was pole for both races as well. So here's the guy that's won the championship starting from pole for both races. Yeah, all good right now in the world of Stingray Rob.
Exclamation mark. That's Rob Howden. He is the voice of their Road to Indy. Thanks, Rob. He'll rejoin us later on this afternoon. He'll let him slip out because he's got some other duties now. Coming up next, it is the NTT IndyCar Series hitting the track for their first practice session of the weekend. Their only practice session of the weekend.